Welcome to Live Your Lifestyle, the movement where we help millennials create their ideal lifestyle and unlock their greatness that we all have in ourselves. We want you to be able to answer this question: what's your ideal lifestyle? My name is Austin Varley, and you'll be learning tactful strategies, blueprints, and lessons from high-level entrepreneurs around the world. Welcome, hustlers, to the Live Your Lifestyle movement, the blueprint to create your ideal lifestyle. I'm super pumped for today's episode. We have guest speaker Michele Lando with us. Michele is a CEO for Consulting Practice Communications, coach, speaker, sales trainer, entrepreneur, author, overall spectacular lady, and so much more, guys. She got her first coaching gig when she was just 8 years old. She wrote the best-selling book, Create Demand for Your Brand from the Inside Out. She's helped Fortune 500 businesses with their marketing strategies such as Cisco, Wells Fargo, Pacific Life, US Trust, and more. Has coached so many speakers to be featured on TED Talks. But you guys hear me enough of me talking. Thank you so much for being on the show, Michele. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's fun to be here with you.
Nice, sweet. So just dive right in. Tell us a little bit about your story, where you're from, what you do now, kind of like your upbringing.
So I guess the best way to go is maybe a little bit in backward order. I didn't always start out in the place that I've landed, and I think that's probably important for your listeners to hear. Mm-hmm. So when I started out, I went to UCLA. I was pre-law.
Okay.
I decided when I was, 20, that I did not want to pursue law. And so I had a really early midlife crisis because it was the first time in my life I didn't know what I was going to do.
And you were just out.
I was just really not sure at all and really uncomfortable with the fact that I didn't have a clear direction. And I do teach at USC, which is pretty funny because they're direct competition to UCLA. It's a California rivalry. But I do teach there. And I deal with the kids who are 20, 21, juniors and seniors. And that's always their worry, is they don't know what they want to do. Yeah, their parents have just spent $250,000 plus on education, and they don't know what they want to do. So I think it's worth stating here, sharing with your listeners, that it's okay not to know, because the truth is when we make our decisions when we're 14, 18, 20 years of age, we don't really know what it means anyway.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. I mean, we haven't been in it. So I highly advocate for internships, informational interviews, get out there, talk to people, ask people,
figure out
do what you're
like.
doing. Podcasts, interview people, talk to them, see what's going on.
Oh yeah.
Get the inside
insights.
scoop. Yeah, definitely. Different points of view. So I took a temporary job.
Okay.
That lasted 14 years.
Temporary job.
And the reason that it lasted that long was I held several different roles in the company. So I was in production capacity. It was advertising at the time. And then I was recruited into sales.
Okay.
I was going through a kind of a personal trauma at the time, so I wasn't doing very well at all. And they really should have fired me, in all honesty. But they didn't. Say it again.
So you're just too great.
No, you know what? They just, I think they just saw the potential there, and they knew it was just a really bad time for me. Mm-hmm. And so they hung in there, which was admirable. I still had to sort of choose, do I want to hang out here? Because I was pretty humiliated, frankly. I was used to being pretty successful up until that point. And it's like I could cut bait and run and get the heck out of here, which I thought about. Or I always had the wisdom to know that life's lessons will keep coming back to us until we finally get them. Oh, yeah. And I was in so much discomfort around all this already. It's like, I'm just going to go all the way through. If at the end of this, I decide I don't want to be here anymore, I'll cut bait.
Did you feel like if you ran away, it would was going to follow you?
Yes, I did, one way or the other. It's just how life works.
Yeah,
it will. If it wasn't that thing, it'll show up again. Mm-hmm. You have a lesson to learn, and then the next lesson to learn, and the next lesson to learn, and they'll keep coming until you learn them. So embrace them. Challenges and hardships, take them on. It's how you look at them. They're really not meant to be challenges and hardships. They're meant to be your opportunities for your own growth. That's where you learn. That's where you come out the other side a different person.
I think that's going to be really good for the listeners too.
I think
because a lot of people run away from their problems nowadays instead of just facing it head on.
Just take it on. You will become such a different person for having gone through that process, and it will build confidence and strength and character and fortitude, and it will translate into economic well-being. It does, as you become more capable in handling things.
Just growth overall.
Yes, exactly.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, guys.
Yeah, exactly. Kelly Clarkson right here. So, yeah, exactly. So I ended up going back in to the sales role. it was interesting because the role that I was in, the job that I was in, the industry that I was in, it wasn't like it was financial services with all these zeros attached to it. I was in production and advertising. We had $35 minimums. So when I'm telling you that I was in the top 2%, this was like enormous achievements. It really was. But I was selling $1 million contracts.
Oh, geez.
So yeah, I really learned a lot.
So you're playing with the big boys and all that.
I was playing with the big boys, and it was a lot of boys at the time. It wasn't a lot of girls. And
does that make it harder for the females, do you think, in the business world, or?
I do.
I
do. I don't think it's the same. I mean, I think, especially with all that's going on right now, it's time, the whole campaign, right?
Right.
I think it's enough is enough. But yeah, I had a couple of moments that were just absurd and outrageous and ridiculous.
And you felt like you were being taken advantage of, or you just felt like you weren't being treated the way or respected the way you should have been?
I had a potential client kiss me on the lips in his office.
Wow.
Yeah, so it wasn't a feeling, it was an experience.
It was.
It was out and out absurd.
That's crazy.
It was absurd. Needless to say, I didn't go back there again. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely things that women put up with men that men don't put up with one another.
Oh, yeah, no.
And I think, again, you just take it on and you make it work and you push through that. But I do think, and I'm proud of this, I really am. I've been doing this for long enough now. We won't go into actual numbers, but I'm a little older now. And I feel like I really helped make a difference for the women who come now. So when I'm dealing with the millennials, Gen Xers, etc., I feel good about what they're walking into. It's so much better than it was.
Oh, yeah, especially for your generation.
Right? And it'll continue to get better. So, yes, I think there's a difference, but I think that's starting to dissipate.
You think it's becoming more equal now than it's ever been?
I do. I think there's far more parity, and I don't think people pay so much attention to gender as they once did. I just don't even think that becomes part of the conversation.
Oh, yeah. Well, especially in the way, all the things that your generation's even been through, like civil rights movements, World War II, all of it.
Yeah, exactly. That was just a little bit before me. But yes, I mean, certainly all of that, the whole diversity program thing, which, by the way, this conference that I'm at right now while you're interviewing me at is really diversity. It's a little strange to me that it's from the outside in. And as you know, my book is from the inside out. I'm all about from the inside out. And so, the idea that you can have one black person, one female, one brown person, which can compensate for, can make up a story for any ethnicity, one Asian person on the cover of an ad, check, we got them all covered. That's so absurd to me.
Right.
Like, okay, we have a black person on the cover.
Get everyone in it.
So that one black person represents all black people. I mean, how absurd is that, right?
Yeah.
Same with gender. Same with age. So what I do, my work, I use assessment tools. And I help people to really get clarity on who they are from the inside out. So in the book, I'm very excited about this. Because I've always been working for very large corporations. But as I told you, I help teach with the kids and stuff. So how do I make this stuff available for them? So I decided I would write this book. And the story about why I wrote it is in the beginning.
Oh, sweet.
But it was such a wonderful way for me to get to give to people who would not normally have access to me in my programs in corporations.
A little more expensive, probably.
Yeah, $25,000, $100,000, half that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the same tools that I use
is all in the book.
Is in the book, and the resources. You can go to my website, which is skillset.com with one L, skillsett.com, and you can go to Quick Start Toolkit, and you can download all those tools for free.
Oh, really?
It's super cool.
Yeah, you guys all need to hop on that.
You do. You really do. I mean, why wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah. And that's a big thing, especially and something I even tell them is we have everything at our fingertips.
Yeah.
Especially even your generation, you guys had to go to a library to learn information. That's so foreign.
A library? What's a library?
Right?
Somebody was just saying in one of the sessions I was just at, they said that they had encountered a millennial. He was from Germany, and he said it was his I think it was his son-in-law. He said it was his son-in-law, and he said to him as he was speaking to him, he says, this was before there was an internet, and his son-in-law looks at him and says, well, so how did you get to Google?
Didn't exist yet.
I mean, it was that wasn't happening yet.
What's so funny, even when the internet came out, Google was still not even invented until early 2000s, mid-2000s?
15, 20 years later.
Right? Mm-hmm. Oh my God, that's so crazy.
Yeah, now we just think of it as a verb. Go Google it.
Go Google it.
Right?
And Google has dominated that whole platform. Well, it's so funny too, especially if you want to even figure a how-to thing, you just go on YouTube.
Yeah. Right.
That's how I worked on anything on my truck, and I didn't know like how to fix the alternator, how to do this. I just Googled it. I was like, okay, nice.
Okay, so for your female listeners, maybe your guys too, but I had on a pair of suede shoes a couple weeks ago, and I dropped some lotion on them. They were my very favorite shoes. I was having a total suede. Well. It was not good. So I said, okay, I got like, how do I fix this? It's like YouTube. How do you fix suede on shoes? You won't. So the answer is, I don't know how this is going to help any of your listeners, but somebody out there is going to have a pair of suede shoes they're going to care. You put powder on your shoes.
Oh, really?
Powder. And then you get a suede brush the next day because it lifts the oil out of the suede. And then you just brush it off and it came right off. It was amazing. YouTube. Suede shoes. See? Just saying.
Anything. That's crazy. I thought your shoes were about to be done for a little bit.
Important things like shoes.
Right?
Yeah.
That's crazy. So what has been some of your best experiences working with companies, helping them with communications and just helping them create their brand?
Oh gosh, I really have been so blessed. Many. I have so many stories. I think I'll give you a variety.
Yeah, go.
Working for a really large financial firm, top 50 company. For them, I did sales training.
Okay.
And what was really neat about that for me was, it's about numbers, it's about selling, it's about dollars in business. Mm-hmm. But I was able to help them understand that the reason people have such an aversion to the term selling is because they feel like it's being done to them. Mm-hmm. Selling really should be about serving people. It's about service.
Helping them. Like the product or service they want it, they
find
benefit.
Out what they need, and if your product or service doesn't offer it to them, don't try to sell it to them. Don't try to convince them. Mm-hmm. Become a referral source, a resource for them. Get them to the right. They'll never forget you. Never. They'll come back to you when the time is right.
Oh, yeah.
And there's good karma. Sometimes you let something go and you'll get something twice the size will come in. And it was a lot of guys, and it was a lot of pressure at this company, as you can imagine, a Fortune 50 financial firm.
Oh, yeah. Quota.
Oh, God, it was crazy. But it was wonderful because it really helped transform their entire sales culture. They actually had me there for 2 years working with all of their teams. So it really did change the culture. So those are the things that I find most satisfying is when I can do something that has such pervasive impact, right? I mean, there's the one-offs.
You can kind of see it in the culture, in the environment, in the room.
Really change the way people think, the way they behave.
Especially salespeople, because everyone got that salesy side of them. And
we don't think of that as a good thing. There's a good book, by the way, by Daniel Pink called It Is Human to Sell. And it's true, because we sell our ideas all the time. Mm-hmm. You've got to sell your listeners that there's a show here that they want to spend the time listening to, that there's something of value here. So we don't think of that as selling, but it is selling.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Everything is selling.
Everything is selling. So I think if we can just start to understand what that really means, what it really could mean, what it really should mean, that we could start to change the general perception of what sales is.
The way we think about it. Yeah, because sales has a horrible
reputation, right?
But
terrible.
The lifeblood of every business is sales.
Well, yeah. If there's no sales, there's no business, right? So, there's a whole nother deal there. Some other things would be, conflict resolution when a couple of people in an organization are causing challenges for the people below them because they can't get along. Mm-hmm. The people below them have no power in the situation. It affects everybody. I love when I get brought into those situations because I just always turn those around and help people understand. And I use the assessment tools to do that, by the way.
Oh, okay.
So it just sort of neutralizes the conversations. I love doing that. Executive leadership teams, helping them to coalesce as a team and then going downstream in the organization.
Bringing them together.
Yeah, creating good, strong bench strength in an organization. So what I mean by that is here you are, let's say that you're new into a corporation, you're a young gentleman, and you're going to be a future leader, right? Mm-hmm. So how do we get you ready for that role, like now? And how do we give you leadership behaviors now?
Okay, so you started them right at the beginning of how to kind of be a leader. That's smart.
I work top down and I work bottom up, which I get comments on a lot from companies like, Michele, you kind of talk with anybody and everybody in the company equally. You can talk to the CEO, you can talk to a secretary, you can talk to it doesn't matter. It's like, no, it doesn't, because they're all people. It doesn't matter to me.
The only difference is that little voice inside your head, the mindset.
Yeah, exactly. It's a mindset. Mm-hmm. So, just connecting with them from where they start and then helping them to understand that you get them, you understand them, you respect them, and then introducing some new idea for them. Most people start with, here's the new idea. Right? It's like, what do you know?
Adopt this, learn this.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
I think that's smart.
Yeah.
What has been some of your favorite experiences helping others, like, building them up, inspiring them, or just like helping them find their like purpose, their passion?
Okay, this just completely turns me on. Like, this is what, right, so I'm trying to, how far do I go here? How deep do I go? So I am a firm believer that we each have a purpose for being here on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact of the matter is, you're a miracle. That you're even here is a freaking miracle. It just is.
Everyone needs to hear that.
It really is a miracle. And I don't care how you get there. You can get there through science. You can get there through faith. It doesn't make any difference. So I'll give you two ways to look at it. Scientifically, if you take a look, there's research that's been done. And if you look at the chances that the study was, they took men and women throughout the world that were 25 years of age, randomly, but that kind of that age, that a male and a female in this case would meet, that they would have a chance to even meet one another, that they would be interested in meeting again, that they would actually date each other, that they would choose to get married, that once they chose to get married, that they decided to have children, that particular day, that particular time, that particular moment that they were making babies, that particular sperm got through to that particular egg.
It's
like, preposterous, okay? But
it's
wait.
Like one out of like a huge.
It goes further.
It's your parents.
Yes. So it goes, keep going. So that's your parents, but their parents the same thing, and their parents, and their parents, and their parents, and their parents. So scientifically,
and then you got the other.
The research
spouse.
is 1 in 400 trillion chances to 1.
Again,
that you would be
born.
here. 1 in 400 trillion. That's on the science side. On the faith side, there's a Buddhist monk who did some research, and he told the story this way. He said, if you take all of the water bodies throughout the planet, 71% of the planet is made up of water. Mm-hmm. If you take all of the water on the planet, and you take one sea turtle in all of this 71% of the planet, and you throw one life preserver, right, into the water in some random body of water, the chances that sea turtle, on the first time that they came up out of the water, would bring that particular life preserver in that particular body of water, he estimates 1 in 700 trillion is the way that he got there. So I always joke, okay, I get that we're off by 300 trillion, that's a big number, but here's the deal. Does it really matter?
Right.
400 trillion, 700 trillion, or 1 trillion? Does it really matter?
You're in the trillions.
Come on. I mean, right? So you really have to get that you're a miracle. And the reason that you have to get this is because do you know the phrase, can't see the forest for the trees? Mm-hmm. So when you're in the forest, you're down amongst the trees, all you can see is that tree trunk and that tree trunk and that tree trunk. You can't see the whole big picture. Oh, yeah. But if you're in a helicopter looking down, you can see the entire forest, right? So that's how we need to look at our lives and the world. It's so much bigger than our little problems. I can't pay this bill. I got in a fight with my girlfriend or boyfriend. I can't find a job right now. I can't fill in the blank. I can't, this isn't, whatever it is.
Some type of negative problem or something that.
Some little something, that seems huge.
Oh, yeah.
It's not
End
huge.
Of the world.
Yeah. It's a tree trunk in a forest. Mm-hmm. And you're going to get around that tree trunk. But you got to be able to step back.
And look at it. And that's where when you get that you're a miracle, it gives you the confidence, the power, the mindset. Oh yeah, it gives you a different perspective.
Totally different perspective. So when you understand that you are that miracle, then this is the only thing I remember from my undergraduate physics class. This is it. Do you know this law? For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Mm-hmm. That's everything I know. But I'll tell you something. That comes up for me almost every single day.
Oh yeah.
All the time.
It's one of like the laws within this universe, like law of action, law of law of attraction, law of gratuity, all of that.
Mm-hmm. So for every action, equal and opposite reaction. So if you can get that you are in fact a miracle, then it would be reasonable to conclude that it's not random that you're here. And in fact, the opposite reaction of that would be that you must have a purpose for being here on this planet.
Oh yeah.
Right?
You're here for a reason.
You're here for a reason, and most people
don't think that.
Don't stop to think about it or reference it or reflect on it, and they end up doing all these things that are outside themselves. My parents wanted me to do this, or I fell into this job, or I did this. They're not happy, they're not fulfilled, they struggle because it's not fulfilling or satisfying to them. My philosophy, and I've lived it, so I can tell you that it's more than philosophy, it's a way of being, is that you absolutely, not only can you, but you owe it to science or to your maker, depending on how you look at it, to live what you were endowed with, your purpose, to discover what those talents really are. And I don't mean talents like singing in the shower, although it could be, but I mean, what makes you unique.
And what can you bring to
And then
help?
what do you bring to any situation? Like, I've always been a phenomenal communicator. I mean, I'm told before I can remember. Like, I started speaking in sentences, not words.
Got your first gig at 8 years old.
Got my first coaching gig at 8, right? The neighbors used to, come over and get me. I'm 2 and 3 to have a whole conversation. They just couldn't believe it. So I don't really remember. Yeah, but I mean, so there's things, and your listeners are saying, but I don't have anything. Like, yes, you do. You just don't know what it is. There is something.
But everyone also has weaknesses, and everyone has strengths.
Yes, but play to the strengths. Don't worry so much about the weaknesses.
Everyone has them.
And when you start to develop, like you will, your own business, or when you're working in an organization, build teams of people so that their strengths are your weaknesses, your strengths are their weaknesses, so that collectively you round out and can be the best of all things. You don't try to be something that you're not. You maximize what you are. And that's how you get to live a life of purpose. And then passion. Passion is your clue. There's a reason why you're excited about fixing the car, and I'm excited about getting the suede stain on my shoe. I mean, but really, there's a reason why you're attracted to what you are, and I'm not. And I'm attracted to what I am, and you maybe not. Those are the clues and cues as to what makes us who we are. Okay. So the other point to that would be exposure. Get as much exposure to as many things as you can.
Go out. Put yourself out there.
Internships, informational interviews, travel. Get as much exposure as possible so that forest can be seen and not just the trees. You can get a much broader perspective so that you can then start to make choices that are well informed.
And based on you instead of like what society or the system or your influence is.
All of that.
And I think what a lot of millennials struggle with is, they graduate high school and then they're like, all right, next step is college, because that's what everyone says is go to college. But then a lot of them, like you even said, juniors and seniors don't even know what they want to do.
They don't.
But they've been there for 3-4 years just getting in debt, or parents paying it. When not all the time is college the way.
Right. No, it may not be. It may be that you want to start your own enterprise. I have a couple of cousins that live here, and they responded to Richard Branson, founder of Virgin Air, and he put out a contest asking, the first 10 people that responded, he would fly them down to Florida, and he would look at funding their business and all that, and they got funded.
Wow.
And they had been doing this business using technology and passwords and so forth through high school. And they really wanted to launch this business. The boy had gone to architectural school, and the girl had gone to University NYU to study musicology. And they both said, like, why are we doing this? This is what we want to do. So they got funded, and they ended up selling the company. And now she's on, I think, her 4th venture. She speaks all over the world. She's 22 years old. A woman in technology at that age starting ventures like this is a really big deal.
Oh, that's a huge deal.
And then he also has been involved with 3 startups. So no, it's not always the same, for everyone. A lot of people now are looking at trade schools again. Just get a trade, something that you like to do. Some people don't want a career per se. They want a job, they want a family, they want time with their family. They want to be 8 to 5, go home, be with family, be with kids, celebrate parties,
and
like
they're
all
okay
sports.
with that, though.
They're
So that's
more
fine.
than okay with it. They want that. They don't want to work 12, 14-hour days. They want to work 8-hour days or less. And they want to build a more well-rounded life for themselves than that. The challenge is that, we're raised by our parents and they mean so well, but they're doing the best they can with what they know and what they were exposed to.
And just looking out for you in general.
Yeah, they mean well, but you know what? Most of our parents, they don't know what their purpose is.
Yeah.
So how could they possibly know what your purpose is? So work on your purpose, your passion. And then ultimately, I believe that you can also profit. I believe that law of attraction. Things will come to you. When you're in the zone, when things are going in the direction that they were meant to go in, that you were put here on this planet to do.
Gain like momentum, like something comes up.
Totally, all the time. If you're working too hard at something, you're doing the wrong thing. Because it's not supposed to be hard. It isn't. I don't mean by that we don't work and put our effort in, but if you're fighting against the grain
and you hate it, or
or you have to convince people of something, and it's like, no, that you're not doing what you're meant to be doing. You're doing something. Just reflect. Take a look at it.
And I think that's also a really big key, is to self-reflect.
Yes.
Because a lot of people don't ask themselves the awkward questions. Because even like me, because I'm only 21, so a lot of my friends, like ever since I graduated high school, every time, like, I'm always like, so what do you want to do? Like, what are your, like, where do you see you in 10 years? What's some of your bucket lists? And they're like, whoa, dude, like.
I'm only 21.
Right, like, I'm only 20, I'm only 22, or this and that. But I'm like, you got to ask yourself the questions, or you'll never ask them, and then you'll just take what life gives you.
Yeah, all of a sudden you're 45, 50 years old, and I'm coaching you in a corporation because you're trying to figure out how the hell did I get here?
Right, and you're just confused.
Yeah, like how did I end up here?
So what inspired you to write the book? I know you wanted to give it out to people and, help people that couldn't afford your services. Is there anything else that inspired you to write the book?
Yeah, actually. So I've lost a lot of people. I lost my father. And a year later, I lost my sister.
Oh, wow.
And then 10 years later, I lost my mother, and that was my family. So I had some pretty extraordinary experiences through each one of those passings that I won't go into right now, but extraordinary experiences. And I really, there's so many directions I could take this. I'm going to hold back a little bit. But there was a moment when my husband and I went to the doctor with my mother, and she was told that she had 6 months to live. Wow. And my mom was pretty stoic, and so she didn't emote much. She's very, very, very loving. I had the best parents, I swear. I was so lucky, I really was. But she just didn't emote much. And so the doctor, young woman, about 37, said to her, this is what's happening, this is why, you have about 6 months. And my mom sort of nodded to her as if to say, like, I heard you, but she didn't say anything. And you know how sometimes when you're in a conversation with somebody and there's an awkward silent pause?
And you kind of want to respond. Or
you want to fill in the gap.
Yeah.
It's awkward, right? Well, imagine telling somebody they're going to die in 6 months.
Right.
And they don't respond. So the doctor kind of leaned in and said to my mom, are you afraid? And my mother said, no, I'm not afraid. We all have to go sometime. I'm worried about my daughter because all of her family will be gone.
Wow.
So selfless, such a mom.
Right.
In that moment,
I don't want to leave her
said to her,
alone.
Mom, I can't even believe that that's what you're thinking about right now. So a couple of days we went home. A couple of days went by, and we were sitting in this sunroom of my house, and it was morning, and we were having a coffee or something, and my mom said to me, I guess I didn't make too much of my life.
Okay.
I almost fell out of my chair. I realized, first of all, that she had been ruminating for 2 days, thinking about this, silently.
Just in her head by herself.
In her head by herself. It just broke my heart. And my gut reaction was, Mom, I don't see this the way you do at all. And I went through, and you can read it in the book, but I went through like her whole progression as a child and what had happened in her life, which was pretty challenging stuff. And I said, but all you ever wanted, you told me so many times, all you ever wanted was to have a family of your own and to create the childhood for these kids that you just didn't have. And I said, you did that on steroids. You did that to the nth degree. And I said, now, do you mean in a bigger sense you could have done more with your life? Probably yes. My mom actually saved my father's life. He had a heart attack, actually cardiac arrest, and she performed CPR on him and kept him alive till the paramedics came.
Wow.
And then a couple of years later, we were in a restaurant and someone slid off the booth, and again, she saved his life.
Jeez.
So yeah, so she's just very present and very capable, and just really non-emotional and can just handle situations. So I reminded her, Mom, most people cannot claim that they've saved one person's life, let alone two.
Right.
Yes.
Huge.
Should you have become a nurse or something? Could you have? Probably. You're built for it. But that was never an opportunity in your life. So
never spoke to you.
Well, she had to survive. There was no going to school in that time, and she didn't. It was a whole different story, but it just wasn't an option for her. And so she didn't. But even though, and I really want your listeners to hear this, even though she didn't have that job, she still lived the most authentic, valuable part of who she really was on a daily basis. Whether she was, consulting and coaching to waitresses in restaurants, which she did, or whether she was saving somebody's life, which she did, or she was just always being
or a great mom,
kind. Oh, the best mom. I remember when I wanted to be a lawyer. She was so cute. My mother and my father both said, hey, if you want to be a lawyer, why don't you think bigger? Like, why don't you be a judge? But you can see me, they can't, but I'm 5 feet tall. So the joke was, we'll get you a step stool so you can get up to the judge's bench. like nothing's going to hold you back. Yeah, don't let that hold you back. We'll get you up to the bench somehow, right? So they were just great that way. So it's my mom's passing and what she said that I felt like I don't want somebody to be 82 years old and on their deathbed and thinking to themselves that they didn't make too much of their life. So I wanted to write this book right now when it happened, and make sure that I inspire people like you're trying to do, 19, 20, 21, 22, 14, 30, anything, to be reflective and think about who you are. And when your turn comes, and I know it seems ridiculous at these ages, but the one thing you can count on is everybody's going to go, right? What do you want your legacy to be? What do you want to feel like you accomplished with the miracle that you were given?
That's even one of my mentors, because he's interviewed a bunch of people, and he interviewed a lot of baby boomers and a lot of the older generation, not even just like high entrepreneurs, like just average people. And he said the biggest regret for all of them was they didn't, find their purpose, or they didn't live a life to themselves.
Right. Exactly. They weren't true to themselves. They didn't even know what that was. And there's no going back and doing it again. When it's over, it's over. So think about it now. And I give you all kinds of tools and ways to start that process rolling. And everything I can give you to help you do it is in there to do it. And hopefully your listeners will take advantage of that.
No, I think they will, because one of the biggest things that I talk about, and I'll even ask you a question about, is personal development.
Oh.
And I think personal development is one of the things that we should even learn in school.
Oh, I could not agree with you more.
Because everyone, like you were even saying here, everyone's here for a reason.
Yeah.
Everyone has a purpose. And personal development, you kind of strengthen your subconscious, and you kind of start believing in yourself more, and you keep seeing all the possibilities out there.
Absolutely, positively. So you're touching into so many things right now, I hardly know which way to go, but personal development. So when I was failing in my sales career, when I came back, I got through my trauma, and they let me go back in. I said, look, here's the deal. I'll come back in, but I want to do it differently. I want you guys to give me the time off. I'll pay for it. I think I was making $14 an hour or something. And I said, I'll pay for it, but I want to go study. And they said, fine, you can do that. And I did. And I would go and I would study first and foremost personal development, self-awareness. Because in order to be of service to someone else, you have to get yourself out of the way. Like when I'm sitting here talking with you, looking at you, I'm not thinking about what does he think about how I look? What does he think about what I'm saying? What does he think about? I'm not thinking about any of that. I'm looking at you to connect with you, to make sure that that's what we're doing right now. I get me out of the way. I'm done. I've already put myself together.
Limited to other opinions.
Yeah, I'm completely past that. I'm here to be of service to you and your listeners. That's why I'm here. Okay? So personal development first, self-awareness first. Then, for me, it was about studying communications. I was gifted with it, but I also wanted to study it more formally. So I studied the science and mind and brain patterns and communication techniques and how we best communicate with others and so forth. We could have a whole other interview on just that. And then lastly, I studied sales. And I remember the owners of this company saying, well, why aren't you studying sales to be a salesperson? Like, I will. I'll get there. But if I study sales and I'm not authentic, and I'm not being who I am, I'm just doing sales, or I'm not capable of communicating in a way that helps to influence others in the best way possible for them, then learning sales is just going to be a shoddy kind of experience, and that's not what you want, and that's not what I want. And that thinking that you advocate is how I ended up being amongst the top 2% of female earners. That's what did it, personal development.
Kind of speaking to yourself, thinking outside the box.
Absolutely.
Did you ever have like an aha moment or like a perspective shift where you just like mentally said like, I'm going all in, I'm doing whatever it takes, like?
Yeah, I've had a couple actually. So I'll tell you the one that came to my mind first when you just asked that. So all of my epiphanies occur in the shower. So if we really have a water shortage and there's no, I don't know what I'm going to do. Really. It's going to be a desperate, bleak situation for me. Yeah, it's like somebody just pour buckets on me. Anyway, I was I think 26 by this time, and I was getting asked all the time, how are you having this phenomenal success? What are you doing? How are you doing it? And I came to realize that they weren't really asking me how am I doing it. What they were really asking me was, can I do it? Right. Can you show me how I can do this?
What are you doing that I'm not doing?
Yeah, exactly. So I looked around. There were 7 other salespeople in that company at that time, and I was selling more than all of them combined. And honestly, the simple answer was, I recognized that I'm just making different choices than they were. So, I mean, things like I was there till 8 o'clock at night. I was putting together my next day's calendar of events. I was writing thank you notes, follow-up notes. I was leaving voicemail messages for clients and prospects. I was doing all the things that I knew I needed to do to make success happen. Mm-hmm. I mean, I have hundreds of those things that I did. But they weren't. They weren't doing that. They'd come in the morning and go get some coffee and then sit down and start figuring out what they were going to do for the day.
Kind of distracted.
Ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Like there's no focus, there's no purpose, just nonsense, wasted time. So I thought, okay, that is the answer. I'm making different choices, but that is not going to satisfy the people who are asking me this question. So I decided I could come up with an acronym, like what are the behaviors that I employ that help me make different choices? So here we go. Listen up, listeners. So choice, it's consistently, I'll come back, but it's consistently honing our intentions concerning excellence. Okay, so here's what that means. Consistently.
And that's a huge, huge key is consistency.
You cannot advance if you are not consistent. Think about if you want to get healthy, if you want to go work out, if you want to, like you have to do it all the time.
Over and over.
Yes. You want to play an instrument, practice. You're into sports, you got to keep doing it, throwing the ball, running the plays, that's what you do. Mm-hmm. It's consistency. You can't go, I don't feel like it today. That's not how we do it. That's consistently. And that's really building discipline. And then there's honing. Honing is about reflecting and refining. How can we do anything and everything better than we're doing it today? The world keeps changing all around us every day.
Oh, yeah.
So to your point, there was no internet, there was no Google. There's a million of these things every day.
Right. I mean, even just the iPhone, like.
Yes, exactly.
It's a huge tool that everyone has. A lot of people don't even think about how much of a tool it is. It's a mini computer in your hands.
It's everything in your hands. Mm-hmm. I mean, it really is. Sales, even go back to those salespeople. Here's the big problem. When you think you already know something, it's like, yeah, I already know. You're shut down. You're shut off. So what happens is when you hear yourself say, yeah, I already know that, listen, hear that you said that and challenge yourself. Say, wait a minute. I do know this, but what is it that I don't know also that I could learn differently or more or better than what I have known in the past? Because if not, you're not going to hone and refine, and people are going to pass you by.
I think that's a really good key, because a lot of people will read something a little bit and they're like, I already know about that.
Yeah.
But always be learning, always want to take more knowledge.
Because you're not the same person. Look, when you were 2, refining and honing was about learning how to stand up without falling down, right? When you were 16, maybe, or 18, where you are, it was learning how to drive a car. It's just who you are is different, and what you're learning how to do is different. And even again, the things that you think you already know how to do, re-examine them. Just re-examine them. So it's consistently honing our is huge. So, listeners, anybody who is listening right now that is blaming anybody for anything, you are giving your power away. If it is somebody else's, if they just would, then I could. Mm-hmm. If he didn't do that, then I could do this. If she didn't do that, then when you do that, you're giving away your power. There is nothing that anyone can do that's ever going to stop me from doing what it is that I want to do. It's not going to happen. Self-responsibility mindset. Those 3 aspects are foundational. If I were building a house, that would be the foundation of the house. If you're not consistent, you're not reflecting and re-examining, and you're not taking responsibility and accountability for things, the next steps won't matter. So that's what you got to master first. Then we go to intention. Intention is so powerful, but intention isn't like, I'm not into woo-woo intention. Like, I just say, like, if I intend it to happen, it will come to me. No. Intention is I have clarity of vision, and I'm being consistent, and I'm reflecting, and I'm taking responsibility to get to my intention.
And you're clear on the action of what you got to take.
Clear on the action, the vision and the action. So it's what do you want to do, what do you want to have, who do you want to be? What are your intentions, okay? So it's consistently honing our intentions, and then life gets really fabulous. Then it's about concerning. Here's the thing. When you are living a life that is built up of being consistent and having discipline, being reflective, taking responsibility, being intentional, there comes a point where you're putting in so much good stuff into yourself. It's like a glass of water that if you pour the water, you keep pouring it in, what's going to ultimately happen?
Overflow.
Yeah, the water's going to overflow. That's what concerning is. When I have so much that I've developed, that I've become, I have something now of value that I can share with someone else. And that's when life gets to be so good, because now you make a difference in the lives of others. That is when you're on your deathbed feeling like I did a great thing. So consistently honing our intentions concerning excellence. And excellence for me, I don't mean perfectionism. I mean personal best. As I said, when you're 2, it's walking. When you're 16, it's driving. When you're whatever.
25 going after something.
It keeps evolving. Your personal best. You're not the same person that you were 6 months ago, a year ago, 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
We're constantly changing.
Constantly changing. So keep reevaluating. Keep checking in with yourself. Keep taking new responsibility, new paths. Keep checking in and making sure that you are living the best version of you. And which will change.
That's a huge key, I think, too. Yeah. And actually, in a quote that one of my mentors told me a while ago, that kind of changed my perspective. Especially nowadays, because of social media, everyone's comparing themselves to others.
Yeah.
That person has that car, that person has that career, that person's so much prettier. When he said that the only person you should compare yourself to is the person you were yesterday.
Exactly.
And always
I like that. The person you were yesterday. Exactly.
And always try to improve than yesterday.
T.S. Eliot has a great quote, a writer, and he wrote, the journey of exploration is to arrive at the same destination and see it differently.
Perspective shifts.
Brilliant, right? I'm seeing the same thing. I'm in the same place. I'm with the same person, but I don't see it the same way.
Right.
I'll tell you when that comes up. When you lose somebody. For example, when you have a death experience. And I hope your listeners haven't gone through that. But when you do, the world looks really, really different.
Oh, yeah.
It looks really different. It's not the same anymore.
Oh,
you know? I remember when my father passed and we were walking my mom out of the hospital. And I thought to myself, what is it with all these people walking all over the place? Like, life is just normal and everything's just going on. And like, don't they know that life is completely changed, that nothing is normal, that nothing is the same, that nothing... And I remember saying to our mom, can we just sit down here for a minute, she and my husband and I said, because frankly, I don't even know where I'm taking you right now. I just needed to get centered myself. Like, I don't even know
what's going on.
Yeah, it was just... I've been here before, but it's never looked like this before.
Yeah, no, and I think that is a huge thing, especially like, everyone can think life is going great and then they get fired. And then now they're like, how do I pay bills? Would I do this? Like
some kid, their parents come home, they're getting a divorce. Kid didn't do anything.
Right.
All of a sudden their family split up.
Yep.
There's all kinds of traumas and dramas, but what I want you to get, when I say take responsibility, a lot of kids get confused and they think they did something to cause that divorce. That is not what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is your parents got a divorce, but you take responsibility for you and your life, and you work out your relationships with your mother and your father, so they work the best relationships for you. Don't take on what their divorce is about. That's between them as adults in a relationship. That has nothing to do with you as a child in relationship to your parents.
And just make the best of it.
Make the best of it. See what you can learn from it. See how you can grow from it. See what you can do to help somebody else through that.
Oh, yeah. And one of my philosophies has always been everything happens for a reason.
It does.
So, God, and if you don't believe in God, it just it's placed in your life for you to grow a strength or for you to go through something. And like you're even saying before, like life lessons, they're always going to follow you until you learn it.
That's what you're here to do. Right?
Do you have any other philosophies that you live by, or any? Because Jim Rohn's really big about philosophies. Do you have any, like a few that are in your head that you kind of live by?
I'm thinking. I don't think of them as philosophies necessarily. Maybe that word is throwing me off a little bit, but I think just the core one that I've said is that we are here for a purpose. And there's so many other things that I live by, but I wouldn't call them philosophies. So, for example, you were talking about being in control of your mindset earlier. Well, my philosophy, I guess, if you want to call it that, is that we have beliefs. And our beliefs lead us to a thought. And that thought creates a feeling. That feeling creates an action. And that action creates an impact. The thing is that most of us have beliefs based on who we were raised by and where we grew up, or who influenced us along the way, maybe a teacher or something, but it's all we know. So those are our beliefs. That's why exposure is so important. And so my philosophy is to constantly be challenging your beliefs. Do I really believe this? Do I really, I grew up with this, but do I really believe this? Do I really think that way?
Challenge your way of thinking.
Challenge your way of thinking so that you get closer and closer to who you really are, not the version of who the people around you were. I'm not saying, by the way, that you have to be different. You might have those beliefs. They might very well be the ones that you subscribe to.
But make sure they're yours.
But make sure they're you, yeah.
Okay, I think that's a really huge key, especially in this day and age, because everyone's do this, do that, and so many millennials are just confused because there's so many things going on.
I think another philosophy, if you want to call it that, would be to not be so concerned about what you're doing. What am I going to do? Be much, much more concerned with who am I being.
I think that's a good one.
Who am I being?
Right.
What you do with who you're being can show up in hundreds of different ways.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Especially nowadays, you can make money in so many different ways.
And the way that you're a friend, the way that you're in a relationship, the way that you have honor and integrity, the way that you
show
fill in
up
the
to
blank.
the world.
Show up to the world. Absolutely.
Did you ever have a mentor or anyone that you were taking advice from? When you were...
it's in the book. I've been blessed. I've had 4.
Oh, okay.
I've really been fortunate. I mean, I really have. And you can read about that, but I mean, I've had them. I married one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So that was great. I had a
great guy.
Oh, great guy. I had a sales mentor. I had the person who first helped me get on stage. My first speaking engagement was in front of 800 people.
Oh, your first?
My first.
Ooh.
And I had someone who helped me through that process and got me my first speaking gig.
So what do you think?
I've had several.
Would you say mentors are important?
Yes, they are critical to your development. And you need to be bold and ask them if they will be your mentor. Because people, it's concerning. Consistently honing our intentions concerning. When you're attracted to somebody because you think they have something to offer you, they probably know they have something to offer you too.
Right.
And most people who have something to offer you, they want to be able to demonstrate concern. They want to be able to contribute to your life.
They want to give.
They want to give back. So ask them if they would be that mentor for you. Don't refrain. Right? Don't hold back.
It's always a no unless you ask, guys.
Right.
All right. And so you said, you touched it a little bit before, but how important do you think clarity is? Being clear in what you want, being clear in who you are.
I'd focus more on being clear on who you are, and then I'd focus more on what is it that you want.
And then what action that you want to take. Yeah,
I mean, clarity is critically important. Otherwise, what happens is it allows you to make choices. It allows you, for example, I stopped eating. I know that you have this aspiration to be the Tony Robbins for millennials. So, a long time ago, I went to a Tony Robbins seminar. I was, just a little bit older than you are now. And he challenged us, and there's many things that we did, the fire walk and all that stuff. But he challenged us, if you want to have energy, and I'm big on energy. So if you want to have energy, don't eat meat for 10 days, take a 10-day challenge. And I was never that big of a meat eater anyway. So I stopped eating meat, and on the 11th day, I thought, why would I eat it now? I haven't eaten it for 10 days, and the 12th day came, and the next thing, it was 30 days, and then in 30-some years.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember you guys talking about that.
So, and I don't, people are like, don't you miss it? It's like, no, not at all.
Right. You probably feel so much better, too.
I don't even know what to compare it to now because I don't eat it, but I do feel great. And the reason I'm saying that is it's a very superficial but easily understood way of narrowing your field of choices. So when I go into a restaurant, I don't look at anything that has meat on the menu. It just goes away. So I'm able to focus or have more clarity on what it is that is in my bucket for consideration, right? Well, that's the same about who we are as people. Who are you? What's your clarity about who you are and what you will do? Some people, they have certain faith, they have certain practices, they have certain things they will not drink, they will not smoke, I don't know, whatever it may be, they don't do. That's up to them, right? But so they know what that means. They've set some boundaries as to what's important for them and what isn't, and it helps you to stay consistent because it helps you to focus and it helps you to maintain discipline.
It keeps you going.
Yeah.
Nice. So can you talk about what motivated you in the beginning to achieve your goals to then what motivates you now?
Yeah, I was all about doing. Now I'm about being.
Okay.
I mean, that's the simple answer. You know, when I was in my 20s, I didn't know anything about being until I started studying.
You wanted to get
I wanted to achieve. I wanted to have financial independence. I wanted to make a difference in the lives of the people around me in terms of financial, whatever. I wanted to accomplish. I wanted to achieve. I wanted all that stuff. And there's nothing wrong with any of that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It's just that's pretty much
on
the surface of things. And for me, how I go about doing all those things has changed enormously.
So I know we're running a little over time. Do you have enough time for 2 more questions?
Sure.
Okay. Because this is one so Live Your Lifestyle is really, that we talk a lot about passion.
Yes.
That's one of our principles is
Yes.
everyone to live a lifestyle with passion so you love what you do. So how do you think passion plays a part in your life? And what do you think the importance of passion is?
Well, I think I mentioned it a bit earlier. I mean, I think passion is the clue and the cue to who you are as a human being, you specifically. So I think passion plays an enormous role. And I think if you are not, able to find passion, then you have some real work to do on what's getting in your way. Because life is meant to be about living with passion as well as living with purpose. Doing what ignites you. If you take a look at Picasso, pictures of Picasso when he's painting, he looks like he's coked out. His eyes are like, 50-cent pieces. They're huge. And he would paint for days without any bodily functions. Didn't eat, didn't everything else that you do. And he just kept going. I'm like that when I'm in front of a room. I don't realize that my feet are killing me, that I've had heels on for 8 hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't realize. I'm back with the shoes, right? But I really don't. And if what fuels me, what feeds me, is when I can see that I'm reaching someone, that they're getting it, and that they want to get it. It's like they could just shoot an IV in my arm and just drain it out of me. Like I'll just stay there indefinitely, giving them what they need to get where they need to go. It just fuels me. It's very energizing. If you are feeling exhausted, you are not living in passion. If you are feeling energized, you are definitely living in passion.
Okay, and I think that would be a big key to a lot of people, because especially in this day and age, everyone's just work. But in reality, like, if you really hate what you're doing, you're never ever gonna love it eventually. Might as well change right now. So what was one of your biggest struggles while achieving and while being in the business world?
Building a strong team. I was very, very, very good at developing myself and being an individual contributor, but I struggled with building a strong team around me.
Okay.
That was a lot harder for me in my company, building the right team. I actually still am refining and working on that.
Yeah, and just building teams, I think personally, that's always a challenge because there's so many different people.
I do team building. I do team building training. I'm great at it. I really am.
Oh, yeah, you do the big companies with the big teams.
Right, exactly. And different budgets and different tools and different all kinds of things.
And different problems probably in that team to shape them up.
Yes.
So if you could, what would you tell your 21-year-old self? If somehow something restarted, you had your 21-year-old self.
Everything that I've told your listeners, that you're a miracle, that your being here is not a coincidence, that you need to focus all your effort and energy on figuring out who you are so that you know what it is that you are going to do with your life, so that you can live in passion, so that you can feel accomplished and purposeful and joyful and fulfilled and fill in the blank.
Nice, that was really good. Do you, any tips, so just in case if we have any people that want to, write their own book, do you have any tips for anyone who wants to write a book or become an author?
Yeah, so one of the things that I learned from a guy who I really like a lot, his name is Mike Koenigs, Koenigs, he's in San Diego. I remember him saying, I've written, I think it was 11 books. He said, I've never put a pen to paper. He's very hyper, super high energy. He said, I use a recorder and I have it transcribed. I can talk.
Can't write.
But I don't write. So I talk, I record, I have it transcribed, and then I have, in his case, he has an editor who puts it together. Okay. I started that way, but I couldn't do it that way. And it's like,
you had to like look it over.
Much easier for me to just write. So I did, and I wrote the book. And yeah, but if you can talk, you can write.
Okay, that's funny because eventually I want to write a book too, and I might actually use that.
Yeah.
I like writing, but to write a book, I definitely know I could talk a book out.
Yeah.
All right, well, is there anything else that you'd want to give or say anything before?
I think just to give what I can to your listeners would be to give them the website, to give them a place to go. If they like what they're hearing, if they want to take this journey, give them a way to get there. So it's skillset.com with one L, skilset.com, which goes with Michele with one L, Michele Lando. You can see me on YouTube, all that stuff is going on. But listen, people, this is not me selling books. You don't make any money with books. That's not. Books are a very high-end business card that projects your expertise in something. So don't misunderstand me here. I'm not trying to make money on the book. I don't care about that. I want you to get the book because it gives you every tool that you could need to get you where you need to go. And as I said, you can go straight to the website. Say you're not a reader. I don't have time to read it. I don't like to read books, whatever. Go to the homepage and the Quick Start Toolkit, and you can download all the tools that are there. The book will help you to understand them a little bit better, but that's up to you. So that's all I would add.
Well, thank you so much. There you guys have it. I hope you got some value from this. I know I did. So if you guys want a great book to help you tune into finding your passion, your purpose, and then profits, go check her book out, Create Demand for Your Brand, and go check her website out, www.skill1lset.com. And thank you so much for being on the show, Michele.
It was joyful. Thanks for having me.
Hey, no problem. And before you go, I just want to say thank you so much to my friends, my family, and the Little Hustler community for tuning in and listening this week. I hope you enjoyed this episode and you got value from it, maybe even a perspective shift or two. I would greatly appreciate it if you would like and comment so I can hear your feedback. As well as, if you have not done so already, subscribe to the podcast, follow Live Your Lifestyle's other platforms for even more tips, tricks, and to stay up to date with us. If you want more value and want to create your lifestyle as soon as possible, go to our website, www.thelylmovement.com/Little Hustlers. Remember, become clear on what's your ideal lifestyle and what are you going to do daily to create it. Thank you again, and we'll see you next week, guys. Bye.